Welcome to the Fourth and Long podcast. Tonight's episode is a busy one. Me and Bradley will be going over upset picks, game picks, buy, sell, coach's hot seat, and a lot more. Welcome into the Fourth and Long podcast with Alec Pecano and Bradley Walker. How you doing tonight, Bradley?
I'm feeling better. Had as Alec will tell you, we had a hurricane. I was on vacation. I come back from vacation and I get a bad cold, and you didn't even want to hear what I sounded like last Tuesday because it wasn't good. So I was able to recover. I'm almost probably about 95% over it. So by the end of this week, I'll be fully over it. So yeah.
So Bradley and I were talking before the show went on how we both think that Texas is still going to make the SEC championship game and explain to everybody why.
Well, guys, I mean they lost to Georgia. One loss Georgia, obviously. Losing to Alabama, which if Alabama continues to lose, that loss is not going to look too good. But I honestly believe that you're going to see them again in the SEC championship game of those two teams. Because right now, if you look at the conference, Oklahoma's not any good. Ole Miss, maybe. My pick, Missouri, they've dropped off the face of the planet. So, yeah, I mean, there's really not a lot of good teams in the conference. Tennessee might be the outside, the dark horse. But outside of that, I think it's going to be Texas and Georgia again when the championship game comes around in Atlanta later this year.
And now we are going to get into our first segment, and it's buy or sell. We're going to go over three teams from each conference, and we're going to say whether we're buying or selling, how they're doing this year. And we're going to start in the Big 12. And of course, the first team we're going to start with is BYU. Are you buying or selling BYU?
I'm going to buy. I think they might be one of the 12 teams that makes the playoff. Me and Alec were talking before the show. Many consider they have a trap game this weekend. They're on the road in me and Alec's state in Orlando to play UCF. But I'm buying BYU.
You know what? Sneakily, I am too, actually. And it's scary to say that I didn't think I need to make a apology to BYU fans. I was very, very low on you in the preseason. Before the season started, I only had you winning 4 games. Because I didn't know what your QB situation was, because you had Gary Bohannon and Jake Ratzloff competing for the starting job. And I didn't realize that Ratzloff is actually a really good quarterback. So I will take the humble L on BYU. Next, we're going to go to Cincinnati. 5-1. Are you buying or selling on Cincinnati?
Sell. Still a lot of football left, but I'm going to sell.
I'm going to say hold. I'm going to say hold for one reason. I believe in not Scott Satterfield, but I believe in Brandon Sorsby. I don't think he got a real chance at in the Big Ten at Indiana. When he was at Indiana, I don't think he really got a chance to play because he was buried on the depth chart. And this is one of the few times the transfer portal actually is a good thing. Because as they say, the grass isn't always greener
on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wait. I was wrong. Cincinnati's 5-2. Are you still selling or are you going to buy?
Yeah.
I'm still going to hold too. Colorado, 5-2. Are you buying or selling?
I'm buying. We called a game earlier this year against Colorado State. Travis Hunter's getting healthier. Shador is, I think, if I read correctly, he's like the number 1 rated quarterback going into the draft.
Yep.
So I'm gonna buy. I think both of us at the beginning of the year thought that it might be, a crappy season for Coach Prime, but I think he's been able to keep the press away. So I'm gonna buy for now.
Keep the press away for most.
Yeah.
I'm going right down the line. I'm going to say buy for Colorado as well. I think Deion, this is the best I've seen Colorado play the last 3 years. And I'm sneakily, I think there's a way that Colorado could make the conference championship game. Because if you look at who's in front of them, Texas Tech, Kansas State, Iowa State, BYU, eventually those teams are going to have to play each other at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And then that opens an avenue for Colorado, maybe Cincinnati, which that would be the most laughable thing to ever happen. Cincinnati making the conference championship game when I didn't even pick them to make the conference championship game. My original pick was Kansas State. Now, of course, we're going to go to our neck of the woods, and we're going to go to the American Athletic Conference. And we're going to start with Army. Buy or sell on Army?
Buy. And I honestly think that both Army and Navy are both going to go undefeated, and you're going to see them play the conference championship game and then play their annual game right after that the following week. That's my opinion.
I'm buying Army as well. And I'm going to leave it there and say I agree with what you just said on Army. Navy, buy or sell?
Buy. They neither Army nor Navy so far, neither any of their opponents have been able to stop them. So until someone does.
And the scary thing is both of them are now throwing the football.
Yeah.
Which
I know, right?
is not something you come to learn about Army or Navy.
Yep. Scary.
It is very scary. I'm buying Navy too. North Texas, buy or sell?
I'm going to hold. I'm not sure. They were supposed to be a team that wasn't supposed to do very well, and they're off to, I think, what are they?
5-2.
Were they 2-1 in the conference?
Yeah, 2-1.
I'm gonna hold on them. I'm not sure yet. Let's see. I think they play Memphis this weekend. So we'll see how they do.
They do play Memphis.
It's Tulane that they play this weekend.
Tulane.
Yeah. So yeah.
I'm gonna say hold as well. Just because when I did my prediction for the conference, I did not have North Texas, Charlotte, or UTSA. I had UTSA ahead of Charlotte and North Texas. And we'll talk about Mike Houston and East Carolina later on in the show. That's another topic. And yes, we will talk about the coaches that got fired. Indiana, buy or sell?
I'm gonna buy. They're off to a hot start. They're undefeated. Again, we'll see now as they get ready to play the Blue Bloods of the conference. So, but up to this point, I'm gonna say buy.
I'm gonna say buy, but caution. Buy with caution. I like Kirk Cignetti, but a report just came out that their quarterback, Curtis Rourke, is going to be out for a couple weeks with an injury. So they're on their backup quarterback. And I'm hoping it's Tyler Cherry, but I don't know who their second string quarterback is. Oregon, buy or sell?
Bye.
Bye. Easy. Um. We got a quartet of 3 teams here: Penn State, Illinois, or Wisconsin. You know what? Let's go with Wisconsin. Wisconsin's 5-2. They're hanging around. People are saying they could play spoiler to other teams in the Big Ten. So are you buying, buy, sell, or holding on Wisconsin?
I'm going to hold Wisconsin.
I am going to hold as well. Conference USA. Liberty. Buy, sell, or hold.
Buy, and you know what? What's going to suck is they probably will not make the 12. Even if they go undefeated.
Buy as well. Western Kentucky, buy, sell, or hold.
What's their record?
5-2.
I'm going to say hold.
I am as well. And it's Sam Houston, who I had finishing dead last in Conference USA. They're also 5-2. Buy, sell, or hold.
I'm going to say hold as well on them till they get into the meat of their conference play.
I'm going to say hold as well. The MAC. Western Michigan. Buy, sell, or hold.
What's the record?
4-3.
I'm going to say sell.
What did you say?
Sell?
Sell. I'm going to say sell too. Miami of Ohio, buy, sell, or hold. 3-4.
Sell as well.
Oh, I don't want to do this. I know a bunch of people that went to Miami of Ohio. I'm going to say buy. You look at where they are in their conference, they're second. And I think they can win the rest of their games. They've already played the meat of their schedule, other than Ohio, which is a rivalry game. And they already played Toledo. So I'm going to say buy. Buffalo.
I actually know one of their student photographers from Miami of Ohio. I met her at the Cure Bowl last year. Was it you say Buffalo?
Yeah.
What's their record?
4-3.
I'm gonna say hold on Buffalo.
It's a toss-up for me. I want to go buy, but I also want to go hold, because if I buy, I feel like it might just I feel like it might blow up in my face. It might end bad. So I'm going to say hold. Just to be fair to Buffalo, because nobody had them doing this good. Mountain West, UNLV, 6-1, buy, sell, or hold.
I'm gonna buy.
I'm gonna buy too. Boise State, buy, sell, or hold. 5-1.
Buy. It's hard to
buy.
beat them on the Bluetooth or on the blue turf.
San Diego State, buy, sell, or hold. 3-3.
I'm gonna say hold. They can play.
Yes, they can. I'm gonna say hold as well. And then we get to your favorite conference, finally. The SEC, Texas A&M, buy, sell, or hold. 6-1.
A&M, I'm gonna say hold for now.
I'm also gonna say hold for now. Vanderbilt, buy, sell, or hold. 5-2.
I'm gonna sell. I mean, I know they beat Georgia. I know they beat Alabama. If they beat Texas this week, that'll change my opinion. But until that time, it's a sell.
I'm gonna say sell as well, unfortunately. Sorry, Vanderbilt. And I'm ready for the hate we're about to get here. Alabama, 5-2, buy, sell, or hold.
I'm gonna say buy. They had the trip up with Vandy.
And then they got beat by Tennessee.
They got beat by Tennessee, which Tennessee again might be one of the top 3 teams in the SEC behind, with Texas being there. Yeah. So I wouldn't. Yeah. I would say Brock.
I'm not gonna say sell. I'm gonna say hold, because I don't want to get beat up in the comment section by Bama fans. So I'm gonna be nice to Bama and say hold for the time being. For the time being, and then so now we will get to. We're going to talk about some of the coach firings that happened over the weekend. The first one being Oklahoma and Seth Littrell, the offensive coordinator. What was the reasoning you think he got fired for?
Well, I mean, if you look at their last 2 games in the Red River rivalry with Texas, obviously they didn't even show up. Texas took it to them, and then last week, they laid another egg, and of course, somebody has to take the fall, right? We all know that if a team fails, the players are not going to get blamed. Somebody's got to take the fall. So Brent Venables, I think, is the head coach. He's not going to take the fall for this. So they got to make a change. So they'll change OCs. They'll either bring someone up that's on the team, one of the position coaches up.
I think what I heard is they're promoting 2 people.
Okay.
One of them is going to be the play caller, and the other one's going to be the pass game coordinator.
Okay.
And then this next one, we talked about him briefly in numerous episodes. It was Will Hall at Southern Miss. He got fired as well after Southern Miss lost over the weekend. So I'm going to start. I'm going to give my thinking of why he got fired, and then you can tell me whether you agree or you want to add something, or you have another reason why you think he got. I think why Will Hall got fired is I think that Southern Miss, I think not their athletic department, but the donors and the donors, I think they were tired of losing. I just really think they were tired of losing, and they said, you know what, we need to get a new voice in the locker room. So that's why they got rid of Will Hall, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a guy that we're going to talk about in a second get this job, and Mike Houston. But what do you think as to why Will Hall got fired?
Well, I agree with you, but see, that's the whole thing is when it comes down to the individuals that donate or are alumni, they don't want to lose. And there are some fan bases out there that are not patient. They can't wait for a coach to come in, get his recruits, develop his system that he wants to run. So after a while, alumni will go to the AD and say, hey, make a change. And especially now with the NIL deals, a lot of these guys are getting NIL deals from these people. So again, it sucks because, again, it all comes down to money at the end of the day. But sometimes getting a new voice or a new face in the locker room can turn a season around. They get a new coach. Oh, hey, we like what this guy does, or we like what this guy brings, his attitude. Maybe it's just a change. And sometimes that ends up working out. So we'll see what happens, whoever they bring in as their head coach.
And then the last one was, and we knew this one was kind of obvious, but we were shocked that he was the first coach in the AAC fired. We thought it was going to be Stan Drayton at Temple that was fired first before him, but Mike Houston at East Carolina. And both of us talked about it at one point or another on previous episodes of the show that we kind of figured that East Carolina, the start they were off to was fraudulent. It wasn't for real, and we knew time was ticking with Mike Houston at ECU, and we knew he was going to get fired. We just didn't know if they were going to wait till the offseason to do it or if they were going to do it during the season. And I guess they decided to pull the plug during the season and get an interim in there. So, and I've been hearing from people that Southern Miss and ECU, they're both high quality group of 5 head coach job openings. Now, I want to know what you think of that. Do you think that's factual, or do you think people are just making that up?
Well, I mean, I think what it comes down to is if you're a coordinator, let's say at a small school like we were just talking about, the MAC or somebody like that, and an opportunity like this comes up to be in a Power 5 conference, why not roll the dice and take a shot? If that's the case, then so be it. But I mean, if I was an assistant somewhere and I had a chance to go coach, why not? I mean, unless I'm at a premier program where I know that if I leave, if I stay, there's an opportunity for me to continue to win national championships or be in the college football playoff. But outside of that, I would take the opportunity to get myself out there and start brand new somewhere.
Okay, so who do we think is on the chopping block next for head coaches? Give me 2.
I have 2, bud. Yeah, I have Trent Dilfer, who I saw last week. Guys, no offense to him, he is not a college football coach. He is a dictator. The guy you can hear him yelling across the sidelines. I swear on my life. I sat in the end zone at Raymond James Stadium on Saturday night in the south end zone of Raymond James Stadium, and you can hear him yelling at his players all the way across the side. And this is with sound. Go ahead.
Timeout. You said you heard him yelling.
Yes.
At his players.
Yes.
I'm going to say something before you conclude with that and tell me your second one. That's unacceptable for a college football head coach to be yelling at his players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look at there was a college basketball coach that used to do that, and look what happened to him. He got fired. Okay, finish with your thing on Dilfer, and then your second guy.
Yeah, so I think he's done. He's not a college coach. The other one that I have, and this might come to a shocker for a lot of people, I think Lincoln Riley's on the chopping block. And he hasn't done anything at USC. He came out of Oklahoma. He left Oklahoma. He was supposed to be like the Cinderella to bring that program out of the ruins, of their scrutiny with the Leinart and Reggie Bush, which now they've instituted all those wins back, and they've given Reggie Bush back his Heisman. But yeah, I think Lincoln Riley's also close to being on the chopping block at USC, because just like Alec was saying a few minutes ago, you can't win close game, or you can win close games, but you can't lose games, because alumni especially at USC, they're not going to put up with that for too much longer. So
no, my 2 guys that are on the chopping block, one, and I'm not buying how good their team's doing right now. It is Arkansas with Sam Pittman. I don't care that they're 4. I think they're 4-2 right now. I don't care. No, they're 4-3 because they lost to, was it LSU?
They lost LSU on Saturday.
They're 4-3. I'm not buying that. I still think he's on the chopping block because, and we've talked about this before, I think his replacement might be on staff. And people are overlooking the fact, who did they hire as offensive coordinator in the offseason? I'll give you a second.
I don't know.
He used to be the head coach at Arkansas, but he got fired because he had
Oh yeah, the accident, motorcycle accident. I can't.
Bobby.
I know Bobby Petrino.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think he's going to be the next head coach at Arkansas, and people are completely overlooking that aspect of it. Why do you think they hired him in the offseason? They need a scapegoat for if and when they fire Sam Pittman.
Yeah.
So that's one. Two, and this team's fan base is not gonna like me for this. And it's not Florida State. It is not Florida State. It is Virginia and Tony Elliott. I don't care that they're 4-3. They've gotten lucky in the games they've won this year. And they had a chance to beat Clemson. And I would have said Dabo if Virginia beat Clemson, but we all know Dabo ain't gonna get fired. If anything happens to Dabo, he'll just leave and go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But Tony Elliott's a whole different story. And everybody's been talking about, even in the offseason, they were talking about how is Tony Elliott still employed as the head coach at Virginia? Why hasn't he gotten fired yet? Well, I think his time is coming. His days, as they say, are numbered and they're ticking away. Slowly but surely, they're ticking away. Now we're going to get to our upset picks, and I will let my co-host Bradley give his out first.
All right, I have 3. I have Navy over Notre Dame, LSU over Texas A&M, and I have North Texas over Tulane. That's my upset picks.
What? You said Navy over Notre Dame?
Mm-hmm. I did.
Well, that aligns with something I said on my morning podcast this morning. I had Navy covering the spread against Notre Dame. But let me get you my upset picks. My first upset pick is Wisconsin plus 6.5 to upset. Penn State fans, close your ears. Because it's obvious who they're playing. Penn State. Yes, I have a feeling this might end up blowing up in my face because I picked against Penn State before. Half the time I'm 50%. Half the time it works. Half the time I look like a dummy. Number 2, I have another Big Ten game. I have Maryland plus 4 to upset Minnesota. And this one I think is more likely to happen because Minnesota is just they're a hard watch. Very, very hard watch. And I'm sorry to Minnesota fans. I think the row the boat. PJ Fleck, I know he just got a contract extension, but like we've been saying for the last 10 minutes, the alumni and the donors have a say in when they want a head coach gone. So that is number 2. Number 3, Bowling Green, and I don't understand how this point spread is so low. When I looked at it the other day, it was 3. Bowling Green plus 3 to upset Toledo. I don't get how that point spread is as low as it is. Because when Toledo played Miami of Ohio, Miami was a 10.5 point underdog. But then it went down to 9.5. Then it went back up to 10 the day of the game. So I'm wondering if something's going to happen between now and the game for Bowling Green, for Toledo to be favored by a lot more points. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Now, Bradley will give you his picks against the spread.
The first one that I have is I'm going to take Miami minus the 21 points. I think they're going to win by more than 21 over FSU. Being A, that they're at home, and number two, these two teams have a pretty heated rivalry with each other, being that they're in the same conference as well. But I think that Miami is going to, cover the spread and then some. I have a few in here. I have SMU plus 11.5 over Duke. Now, again, Duke has been playing pretty well, but I like the Mustangs in this game. And the last one I have is, we were just talking about their coach getting fired. I have East Carolina minus 7 points to Temple. So,
which Temple's coach could be the next one on the chopping block.
Yep.
You're the next contestant on who's getting fired next, Stan Drayton. Which I don't know how you still have a job at Temple. You are a terrible head coach. And I'm sorry, Temple, before I get to my picks against the spread, Temple is the last place I would want to coach in Pennsylvania. I'd rather coach at Penn State. I'd rather coach at Penn. I'd rather coach as a matter of Pitt. I'd rather coach there than coach. If it was the last place in the state of Pennsylvania, then fine, I would coach there. And you would have to pay me a lot of money to coach there.
Right.
Here's my picks against this one. My first one is Ball State plus 12 to cover against Northern Illinois. Now, I want everybody to listen closely here. I understand Ball State has been, how do I put it? How do I put it nicely? They have been, help me out, Bradley. They've been, I don't want to say horrible, but they've been
lackluster.
Yes. Perfect word. They've been lackluster. And I think their coach might get fired too. But I have faith that they will cover the spread. Next one is Missouri plus 14 points to cover against Bama. Yes, I know I don't sound very confident in that because we saw what happened with Missouri last week. And how they almost had a little episode and choked.
Uh-huh.
If Brady Cook didn't come back, I think Missouri loses last week. And then my last pick against the spread is Northwestern plus 13.5 to cover against Iowa. And this is my favorite pick against the spread this week because we know Iowa is notorious for scoring less than 40 points. And I think somehow Northwestern, I know they've been horrible, but I think Northwestern can keep it closer than people think. And then now we will get to our over-under picks, and I will start. My first one is Illinois and Oregon. The total is 54.5. I like over 54.5. I think both of these teams are going to put up points. We saw how Oregon's defense was against Ohio State. It was slice spread. I don't count last week against Purdue because that's Purdue. Purdue just, I'm sorry, Purdue fans, but your team looks defeated. They look like they just want to give up on the season. So I think in Illinois, Bielema was another coach that might have saved his job with how good the start they're off to. So I like over 52.5 points. 54.5. The next one, and I had this team last week, and I had under their total, and somehow they went over. New Mexico versus Colorado State. New Mexico versus Colorado State. Total is 65 points. And New Mexico played somebody last week, and their total was 77.5. And I said under. And what do you know what happened? They went over. So you know what? This week I'm going to try taking the over and in the Mexico Colorado State game, which, like I said, is 65 points. Let's see how, to put it nicely, how accurate I can be. And then the last one, we just talked about both of these teams a second ago. Temple ECU. Total is 48. And I'm sorry, Temple ECU fans. I would recommend not going to the game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring. And I can see, by the way, my co-host is the face he's making. He agrees with me.
Yes.
Okay, what are your over-under picks?
My first one, Bud, is the over-under in the Syracuse Pitt game is 62.5. Pittsburgh's been able to score points. I mean, if you think about that spread, that's 32 each. I think Pitt can score more than 32 against Syracuse. So I'm going to take the over in that one. I talked about this game in the upset picks. The spread with the Notre Dame Navy game is 52.5. That is a neutral site game. If people do not know, they're not playing in Annapolis or in South Bend. I like the over because Navy just can Notre Dame stop them? At this point, I'm going to say no. It's 52 and a hook. I'll take the over on that one. And I'm going to take the over in the Texas Vandy game because Texas is pissed off and Vanderbilt just in the wrong place at the wrong time because it's 53.5 there. I'm going to take the over because I think Texas may put up 60 by themselves. I know Vandy's won some games, but they haven't played anybody like Texas so far this year. I know they beat Alabama. Alabama's not Texas, guys. So Vandy's in trouble. Vandy's in trouble.
And now we will get to our game picks for this week. And speaking of Pitt and Syracuse, that is the first game we're going to start with.
Okay.
Who are you taking?
I'm gonna take Pitt. I'm gonna take the Panthers.
I am too. Even though Kyle McCord has had I'm not gonna say great season. He's had a serviceable season, and Ohio State fans ran him out of the building. Which I'm an Ohio State fan. I sat on my podcast for 3 weeks after he transferred, after he entered the portal, and I defended him. I thought it was a bad idea. I like Will Howard, but I think Ohio State fans should have pumped the brakes and gave Kyle McCord an actual chance because Ohio State didn't really have an offensive line last year. Okay, so we're going to go to the ACC. We have 2 more games in the ACC. Louisville, Boston College on Friday.
Give me the Cardinals.
Not so fast, my friend. Give me Boston College. I think Castellanos has a bounce back game because they got thumped by Virginia Tech last week. And speaking of said Hokies, they play Georgia Tech on Saturday.
Give me the Hokies.
Give me Virginia Tech. And you know what the funny thing is? There is still a way they can make the ACC championship game. Which I don't know how that's possible. But it is college football. Chaos.
Yep.
Chaos does tend to happen. We're going to go to the Big 12. BYU, UCF.
Give me the Cougars.
Okay, so that spread's moved now. It's 1.5 in favor. Are my eyes seeing that correctly? UCF is favored.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. But yeah, I wouldn't. I'll take BYU.
I'm taking BYU. I don't understand how the people that put out the point spreads, how they can even think about putting UCF as a 1.5 point favorite. That just look at everybody UCF's lost. They lost their leading wide receiver. KJ Jefferson's been a complete bust to the point where he got benched. And then Malzahn might be on the hot seat for all we know. Oklahoma State and Baylor.
Give me the Cowboys. Baylor's they're a mess. So give me Oklahoma State.
I know we've gone over this before, and we've been told don't pick against Mike Gundy. I think you know the road I'm going down here.
Didn't we 2 weeks ago pick him and they got rolled?
Yes, we did pick Oklahoma State a couple weeks ago, and they got beat really bad. I'm going Baylor.
Okay.
They're 3-4. Something tells me they're going to win a couple more games. And then my personal favorite game in the Big 12 this week, TCU, Texas Tech.
Give me the Horned Frogs only because they're at home.
You know what? Yeah, you convinced me. TCU. It took a lot of convincing, but TCU. Big Ten. Friday night, we got Rutgers and USC.
You know what? I'm going to pick the upset here. I'm going to take the Scarlet Knights.
I am going to go Rutgers too. Greg Schiano. Nebraska and Ohio State. And I think it's obvious, you know, who I'm picking.
Well, I'm not taking Nebraska because they got rolled last week.
By Indiana.
So there's no way. Indiana's not Ohio State. And the Buckeyes are at home. If you don't take Ohio State, you need to have your head checked. So I'll take the Buckeyes.
Well, and people forget Ohio State is still ticked off.
And then they lost to Oregon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm taking Ohio State, but I did a video earlier where I had picked Nebraska to cover the spread. I think I'm going to regret that now because I think Ohio State's going to roll Nebraska. Sorry, Matt. Roll. No pun intended. Washington, Indiana.
Give me the Hoosiers. They have had a good season so far. They're at home, so why not? Why not?
Give me Indiana, and I think your Big Ten Coach of the Year resides in Bloomington, Indiana. Kirk Cignetti. And I'll tell you this before we get to the next batch of picks. I had in the preseason, before the season, I graded all the new coach hirings, and I gave Indiana, at the time, I gave them a B+. But now I regret doing that because I think that was a home run higher for them. We got Buffalo and Ohio.
Give me Buffalo.
Hate to do this. They're rivals with Miami of Ohio. Give me the Bobcats. Speaking of Miami of Ohio, Central Michigan.
Give me Miami of Ohio.
Give me Miami of Ohio and the points. Because I think they're going to roll Central Michigan. Both teams are 3-4. Miami was my preseason pick to make the championship game in the MAC. And I think they still have a shot. Oh, boy. Akron? No. Ball State in Northern Illinois.
Give me Northern Illinois.
I'm going to look like I'm going to sound like the annoying orange here. Give me Ball State. But I'm not very confident that they're going to win. I'm not very confident. The confidence level in him is extremely low. So we can't do that game or that game. Liberty, Kennesaw State.
Give me Liberty.
Now, I'm going to say something. If this was basketball, I would take Kennesaw State. But Kennesaw State is horrid in football. So give me Liberty. Middle Tennessee and Jacksonville State.
I'm going to take Jacksonville State.
It says it in their name, Mid Tennessee. So give me Jacksonville State. Sorry, Middle Tennessee fans. I had to use that pun. No pun intended at all. Just had to. Mountain West. Boise State, UNLV.
Give me Boise State. Give me the Broncos.
Boise State's only a 3-point favorite. UNLV's at home. Give me the Rebs. The running Rebs. New Mexico, Colorado State.
You know what? You talked about that game earlier, but I'm going to take New Mexico.
It hurts me to do this because I took the under. Give me New Mexico. And then Wyoming. Why not Wyoming against Utah State?
Yeah, give me Wyoming.
1-6 Wyoming. Ooh, this. I just realized both teams have only won one game.
Somebody's got to win.
Somebody's due for a win. I think it's also going to be Wyoming. Am I going to watch that game? Maybe. We'll see. That might be a snooze fest for all we know. And snooze fests are not fun to watch.
No.
Both of us can tell you that. In that case, you just change the channel. Oklahoma, Ole Miss.
Give me the Rebels.
Give me Ole Miss for one reason. Oklahoma has changed quarterbacks again for the third time. And they're going back to Jackson Arnold. Arkansas and Mississippi State.
Give me the Bulldogs. MSU.
I know I said I wasn't buying Arkansas earlier, but Mississippi State's in a rebuild. Arkansas fans, you better hope you win. Because if you don't win, I am never picking you again this year. And when I say that, I am serious. Give me Arkansas. Georgia Southern, Old Dominion.
Give me Georgia Southern.
Give me Georgia Southern as well. App State, Georgia State.
App State.
App State, and the last Sun Belt game, Southern Miss and James Madison.
James Madison.
James Madison as well. You know what? We're gonna throw in a couple FCS games as well. Richmond and Bryant. Of course, these games.
Give me Bryant because they're at home.
Give me Bryant as well. Dayton and Morehead State. Or let me be correct here. Morehead State.
I'll take Morehead State.
Dayton. Dayton's 5-1, which I never knew Dayton had a really good football program. Marist and Valparaiso.
Valparaiso.
Marist. And we're going to finish off talking about some teams that disappointed us this year so far. Who are a couple of teams that have disappointed you this year?
Well, I talked about them earlier. I'm going to say Missouri. I had them predicted on the first show that I did with Alec. I had them being in the college football playoff. Yeah, they're not going to make it now. I think they're my first disappointment team. As far as, it's hard because they changed conferences, but I think Oklahoma's got to be a disappointment too. Texas comes over. They're dominating the SEC, which a lot of people thought they were going to when they came over. But I think they thought that Oklahoma was also going to bring that Big 12 swagger over. So I think those two teams so far have been the two that have been the biggest disappointment for me.
Okay. My two disappointing teams this year. And one of them, I was very surprised at how bad they're doing. And it is Marshall. I was a little high on Marshall this year because they had a lot of guys returning. And I know they got a big win over they won last week. But they're still a disappointment to me. And then the other team, I'm right there with you, Oklahoma. They were coming over to the SEC, and they ended up, they might still finish out the season good, but they are a big-time disappointment. And everybody, if you've enjoyed the show, please remember to like and subscribe to both me and Bradley's YouTube channel and to give both of us a follow on Twitter. And we will see everybody again on Thursday night. And what time do we want to do Thursday night? Do we want to do 5:45 or do we want to do 6?
Let's do 5:45, but on Thursday.
Okay. We will see everybody on Thursday at 5:45 p.m. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday night. We will see you back here at 5:45 on Thursday.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.